Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and this fall long we're going to take a look at security groups. And we don't really have to touch too much on these at this point because later on, many times over, we're going to be fiddling with security groups. So getting the basics is just what is most important here. And we did lay some groundwork in those NACLs, so I'd like to reuse some of that code. So I'm going back to our repo over here, and I'm going to hit period to open up github.dev so we can do a little bit of coding, not too much, but get our stuff in place. But we're definitely going to be reutilizing that template that we produced in the last video for NACLs. So in here, I'm just going to make a new folder, and we're going to call it SG for security group, and we're going to make a new file, and I'm just going to call this one readme.md. And the idea is that we're going to want to create a security group. And so what I want to do here is just create a security group that is going to, I don't know, just create a security group. So we'll say to ChatGPT, create a security group for a specific, well, actually, you know what? I don't think we need to even do that because in our template prior here, we actually do create a security group and we can tweak it as such. So maybe what would be better is if we copy this template, and we'll make a new file here, and we'll call this template.yaml. And I really don't have much to put here for now, but the idea that I'm thinking is that what we can do is kind of just play around with this and adjust the requirements so that we can, whether we want to block or allow traffic. I should say allow because that's the only thing that security groups can do is create rules that will add additional rules. But let's go ahead and get this ready to go. So we don't have our VPC from before. So what we'll need to do is create ourselves a new VPC. So I'm going to make my way over to VPC. And I'm in CA Central 1. And it does matter because the AMI is tied to the region. So if you're in a different region, you need a different AMI code. So we'll say VPC and more. I'm going to have 1AZ. So we have one public subnet, no private subnet. We'll go down here and take off the VPC endpoint. This looks good to me. I'm going to call this one SG project. Good. We'll go down below, create the VPC. We'll wait just a moment for that to create. Doesn't take too long. We'll view our VPC. And so now what we can do is copy this VPC ID address, and I'm going to drop this into here. The other thing I'm going to need is the subnet ID. So we'll go back over to here, and I'm looking for our new subnet. This one is, give this a refresh. Here it is down below. So we'll just check box into that so we can get it from the copy paste. And I'll paste in that subnet ID here. And so we should all be set up. And as per usual, we'll go ahead and download this. So off screen here, I'm just getting my downloads folder in place, and we'll make our way over to CloudFormation. Again, in other videos, I show you how to create CloudFormation deployment scripts, but we're just keeping it simple here and having some variation. So yeah, we'll go ahead and create a new stack. I'm going to upload a template file. I'm going to drag the one over that we had right there. Not trying to open it, just trying to drag it. It's getting confused. It keeps double clicking by accident. That's why it's doing that. We'll go ahead and hit next, and we'll call this one SG example. We'll go ahead and hit next, and we'll go down below and hit next, and we will go ahead and say I acknowledge, and we'll submit, and I'll see you back here in a moment when this deploy is done, or if it fails. And it looks like we've encountered a failure, so I'll go over here and take a look into any of our parameters. It should tell us somewhere, usually under events. Failed the SSM role SG rollback requested user. This does not exist. So it's suggesting that I did not copy the VPC ID, which I'm pretty sure that I did. But if we did not, let's go back here and double check. So go into here, over into VPC. And we'll go to VPC here. And this is our new one. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that VPC ID again. Maybe it cut off when I copied and pasted it. I'm not sure. And we'll go ahead and paste that in. Definitely does exist. The other thought is like, am I deploying this in the correct region? So if I go back over here, yeah, I am. The VPC value does not exist, 03181. And we'll go back over here, 03, no. So it's using an older template. So it's probably because I never actually downloaded it. So we'll go ahead here and just hit download. That's the reason why. Gotta be really careful when you're doing this stuff. When you create a stack for the first time and it fails, then you have to delete it. If it's a stack that you have created successfully and updated, you don't have to delete it. What we'll do is try this again. So we'll go ahead and say create create new, this darn button. There we go. I'm just banging on my mouse here to fix that issue. But we'll drag this in here, hit next. We'll say SG example, go all the way down below, hit next, next, I acknowledge, submit. Okay, so that's going to go ahead and launch that instance, and hopefully it'll work this time. So I'll see you back in just a moment, okay? All right, so this EC2 instance is ready, and the idea is that if we go over to EC2, we should have that Apache server running. So let's go see if that is the case. Remember that we are using IPv4, so it is utilizing up an IPv4 address, which does have spend, so we don't want to keep this up for very long. I'm going to go up here and just paste in that IP address. And there it is. So that's working as per usual, so no problems there. But the thing is that we do have this working, but we want to see if we can change our security group rules to do something different. So something very simple would be to only allow access for particular areas. So let's go ahead here and adjust our security group rules. So we'll go ahead and just click into our security group, and we'll edit the inbound rules. And what we'll do is we'll just first remove our rule here and see if we can save it. It seems that we have to provide it for a particular area. So if we go my IP, that will grab our current IP. And what I'm going to do is just change it to something else like SSH. Because the idea is that if we switch it to SSH, this should not work because SSH is on port 22. And so notice that it's going to hang. Okay, so notice it's hanging, which makes sense. If we go back to our inbound rule and we change this over to HTTP, which we'll set it to port 80 as TCP, we save it, and we go back here and refresh, it should no longer hang. Might have to double click, just make sure that it's not using HTTPS because we're not using that protocol. And notice that it instantly loads. So this is definitely working. We'll click back into our inbound rules. I just want to point out that you have other options here. So notice when I click into this, we have our CIDR blocks, but then there's security groups and there's those prefix lists. So if we want to restrict on these, we can absolutely do that. When we get into something more complex, like having an EC2 instance that talks to an RDS instance, this is where we would reference another security group, or if we have a load balancer. I'm going to leave that for later because we already did NACLs for quite a bit of time, and there was a lot of setup there. We don't want to make things too complex here right now. But anyway, that is security groups in a nutshell. So let's go back over to CloudFormation, and what we'll do is we'll just terminate that script. So we'll go here, and it was SG example, which is the old one, so we'll go ahead and delete that. Okay, and so that should delete without issue there, and we are done. Okay, see you in the next one. Ciao.